Hi, my name is Joni, and I am a student in the education program at Sul Ross State University. And this semester I am taking an education course that requires me to read Teaching Through the Text, Reading and Writing in the Content Areas. And I have made a dodecahedron to show you how the pieces of Chapter 3, getting to know your students, your materials, and your teaching, fit together. And so I will explain this. So first, when our students are frustrated, when we give them reading and writing and just any task to complete in the classroom, what should we do? We should give them encouragement and assistance and help build them up so that they can become better students and learn the material. And next, there are 3 dimensions of classroom assessment. And we have to assess, 1, our students' abilities, 2, our instructional materials, and 3, our own teaching methods and strategies that we use in the classroom. And so, number 1, student ability. What is reading ability? Reading ability is a person's ability to use a number of mental processes to form a logical idea about the meaning of text. So this is where you process in your mind what you comprehend from the text. And so this is how we understand what we're reading. And some of the ways of describing the extent our students reading ability are used. Many teachers use the most basic scales, and they're just lines, and the first one here goes from low to high, and we will rate the student somewhere on that line from a reading passage we've given them or just an assignment that we've given the class. And we would rate each student in their own file. Another scale shows us below basic, proficient, and advanced. And the last scale that we have rates their reading ability on a scale of kindergarten through college. So we can assess, where they're at in their reading. And our students have 3 levels of reading ability. And these can be found by using diagnostic reading tests. And from books like Eckwall-Schenker, there's really good diagnostic tests in there for teachers to use. And each school district will have their own reading ability test that you may have to give if you're the reading teacher. But the first level is independent. And independent is where the student can independently read a text that you have given them. And they can comprehend what they're reading. They can answer questions about that text once they've completed reading it. 2 is the instructional level of reading ability. And this one, they can read it, but they may need some assistance, whether from a peer that is at the independent level or from you, the teacher. And number 3, we do not ever want to see our students at a frustrational level. We want to help build them up to where they can be at an instructional or independent level, because the frustrational level is where when they read, they hate it because they're having so many problems. And when you have a student that can read at an independent level and they want to try a harder book, you may see them at that frustrational level. But, there's ways that you can talk them down from from that frustration and maybe help them choose a different text to read. And now we want to find out what the difference is in reading ability and readability. And reading ability, as we've said, is the ability of our students to comprehend the materials, versus readability instead focuses on the difficulty of the materials. So reading ability is of the students. Readability is on the difficulty of the materials that we are giving our students. So we have to make sure that the material that we give them is developmentally appropriate for them, so their reading ability on that text is where they developmentally should be. And there are two approaches to judging our students and our materials. And approach one is assessing students and materials separately. And in this approach, we tend to use standardized tests. And these test students as a group and not as individuals. So when we want to get a quantitative look at our class's success in the readability and the reading comprehension and everything, we have to only look at the reading comprehension subtest and the percentile rank, and then we can classify students as average, above average, or below average, and we can go back over here and to one of our basic scales and rate our students on that. But we have to remember that we are looking at the reading comprehension subtest, not the whole test. And we also have to, on the standardized test, we have to find out the readability of the passages that they have read that we are using these scales on. And the way that you can do this, there are many approaches to this, but because we are in the technology age, we can go online and we can put the text into a readability calculator to assist us with this task. And another way that we can do it is to use the Lexile Analyzer to match books with students. And there's a whole scale for the Lexile system. And, this helps the teacher better matching the books to the students. In the second approach, assessing students and materials together, the biggest thing about this approach is that it can take valuable class time. And it will probably cause you, the teacher, more headache than it is anything. Because the first way to do this is with closed testing. And it has been used for 4 decades to assess reading comprehension. And it is very well researched. But there are many steps to it. First, you have to pick the passage that's about 300 words. And then you have to go in and delete words. The first words you delete will be in the second or third sentence. And then you have to mark every 5th word until 50 have been marked. And then you're going to delete the marked words and you're going to replace it with blanks. And you want these blanks to be the same length. And these blanks can be numbered or, whatever makes it easier for students to keep up with what word they're filling in. Or they can fill it in on the closed test. Then you have the students read and fill in the blanks. And then you score the test. Another way is reading guides. And I kind of like the reading guides because it guides the student through what you're having them read. And it may help them comprehend a little better. And an example of a reading guide is the PowerPoint that we received for this chapter to guide our reading of the chapter. And it helped us pinpoint exactly what we needed to focus on. So that is, a reading guide is a good way. But then you have those students that are just going to read what is in that reading guide and figure that out. If it's in like science or history, they're not going to read in between. And then our next side is judging the context of instruction. And this is judging how we teach the materials and the methods that we use. We have to know our students and our materials so we can effectively teach them. And we have to self-assess our own teaching, because that will help us become better educators and more effective educators with our students. And to leave you a final thought on the chapter, when we get to know our students, our materials, and our teaching, we can create a more effective learning environment for our students. And when we get to know our students, it's not just on their reading ability. It is our students as a whole, because we need to know their background. Why is their reading ability at the level that it's at? If they're on a high reading ability, then, maybe they get that at home. But if they're on a low reading ability, maybe they're not getting that at home. Maybe they need someone to lift them up and encourage them and assist them, like we said over here. But that is how Chapter 3, getting to know your students, your materials, and your teaching,